The views on this program do not reflect those of ONTV or its board of directors. Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to OAA Now. Here I'm Sammy Taormina, blog of the Dragons Insider, blog of Inside the OAA, one of the hosts of Between Terminus on Orion Neighborhood Television. I'd like to welcome those watching on the hearing us on the local voice on SoundCloud, and also watching on Orion Neighborhood Television and watching on the live stream. Got Ian this week here.
Hey.
It's been a cloudy Monday.
Well, I think fall is actually arriving on Wednesday.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be cold temperatures.
And the temperatures are coming with them.
And it's bringing a lot of rain with them.
Yes, it's going to be soggy and chilly, high in the 50s.
Yep.
Middle of the week, late in the week, with rain late into the Fridays. So we're going to see some conditions change.
They've had a lot of clear nights for Friday night football.
Perfect night for Friday night football, but that is changing this week.
Yes, it is.
And it should change. It changes kind of, when you get the weather coming, it changes sometimes your game plan, right? But, another week. Was it week 4 in the books?
Yep, we got a lot to talk about, obviously. But let's go with the OA Roundup. I'm starting off. A lot of good games this week around the league. Also, we had some really good action at Harper Woods. The Pioneers off to a 3-1 start.
Yeah. And we ready?
Let's go.
Okay, here's a roundup. All right, like Sammy said, there were some good games in week 4. Let's start off with Harper Woods against Pontiac Notre Dame Prep. Harper Woods takes care of business, 38-30.
Yep, that was a good game.
And that was on the road up here at...
that was at Harper Woods.
It was at Harper Woods. Okay, so 38. So we know Harper Woods can put some points on the board, so there you go.
Booth, very good at quarterback, had a big night. I got to figure out that running back's name, though. He had 4 touchdowns in that game for Harper Woods.
The other game that we were keeping an eye on from last week was Stockbridge Pontiac. Stockbridge takes down the Phoenix 68-40. But the story of that game is Davion Hall, 12 of 25 through the air.
First start at quarterback.
For 325 and 5 touchdowns. Not only that, but he ran for 150 yards for Pontiac. That is insane.
Yes,
almost 500 yards of offense attributed to one individual in his first start at quarterback.
Yep. That's insane.
Awesome. And Pontiac scores 40, right?
40. That's the first time that they've scored 40 points, I think, since 2000 and, I think 2000 and, it's been a long
time.
Long time.
When we're trying to guess on the year, that is a long time ago. All right, Bloomfield Hills, Avondale. Avondale still trying to find something in 2021, and Bloomfield Hills takes care of business 38-6.
You know what I found out about them was Jake Herzog. He's out with an knee injury.
For the season.
I don't know if it's for the season, but I seen him on pictures. He was on a knee brace.
Okay, so that's a big loss for Avondale. Yep. All right, moving on. Troy versus Farmington. Troy takes care of business 17-7. Troy is 4-0 for the first time since 2000.
1999.
You have 2000 on the sheet, but it's probably 19. So it's even longer.
Even longer.
So Darius Whiteside, 21-yard TD reception and a pick for Troy.
Yep. Watch that game on Farmington TV 10. Obviously, you see that Whiteside went nuts in that game.
It sounds like it. Next game, Troy Athens. Interesting team to discuss later in the podcast. Troy Athens 43-35 over Royal Oak. Athens 4-0 for the first time since 96.
Yep.
Berkeley, Ferndale. Ferndale ran into the little COVID. One had a case in the program, and due to contact tracing and all that good stuff, they had to shut down the team.
Did out of precaution.
Out of precaution, exactly. So it was a forfeit. Berkeley takes the win in the forfeit. Now we got to see how that impacts them going forward. When did
Especially
they find
with the
out?
Game with Avondale, you know what I mean? Lewin for them.
Exactly. So did Ferndale know early on? Are they going to be able to play this Friday? All right. So here's a game that we need to chat about too later in the podcast or after the roundup. Oak Park, North Farmington. We knew it'd be an interesting game, but Oak Park takes down North Farmington 30-24.
Yep, here's an interesting stat for you. Wanda Miller, remember him from basketball?
Yes.
He caught a 28-yard touchdown pass for Oak Park in that stunner. I remember how he beat Aaron Rice. Basically, he beat him passes like caught this here, and it got right through his hands past Aaron Rice.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
So that should we be worried about North Farmington, or did Oak Park just play out of their minds that game? We shall see.
Yeah, let's talk about that one.
The battle in Rochester. Adams and Rochester. Adams takes down Rochester again, and almost a near mirror finish of what happened in the playoffs. 49-10. Adams, 26th straight win over Rochester.
I don't know how many, if you're Rochester.
How do you take it?
It's funny because, it's funny because Rochester's last 3 losses to your city rivals, twice to Adams.
Yes, twice to Adams, and in big ways. I mean, I thought the playoff last year, as you know, thought it'd be closer, and you go, nope, blowout.
Nope, blowout.
Groves and Seaholm, the rivalry continues. 21-14, Groves gets it done.
Magnum, big difference in that game.
Awesome. West Bloomfield, still the old Lakers, 24-10 over Stony Creek. Stony Creek still trying to find their way in the red. Dylan Tatum, 17 carries, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns for West Bloomfield. All right.
Yep.
The Double O Trophy on the line. Oxford and Lake Orion. That rivalry right on M24 here. Oxford destroys Lake Orion 51-27. Brady Carpenter, 4 touchdown passes for Oxford. Lake Orion has given up 135 points in the last 3 weeks.
That's bad.
We're talking about them.
Yep.
Clarkston does what Clarkston does. Battled A&T 56-27 in a dominating performance. Now, these numbers are gaudy. It's just ridiculously gaudy, but it's Clarkston, right? DePillo, 7 of 9 for 162 and 4 touchdowns. 2 to Clark. Clark also carried 16 times for 195 and 2 scores and had 59 receiving yards.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Davis York had an 86-yard rushing touchdown. Lucas McKinney, 3 receptions for 100 yards and a score for Clarkston. Clarkston is rolling.
Yep.
And that's the OAA Roundup for this week. Yeah. Sammy.
Well, let's look at the team that's red hot right now. For me, let's talk Billy Keenis' team. I mean, 4-0 first time since '96. I mean, Troy Athens football the last long time's been just absolutely bad. I mean, when you look at the Red Hawks, this is a team that, I knew that they would be good.
Yeah.
But for them to be 4-0 for the first time since '96, that says a lot.
It does. And they're putting points up. I'm a little concerned about
their defense,
their points allowed. But you're still getting the wins.
You're still getting the wins.
That builds your confidence. It rolls to the rest of the season.
And they did that on Royal Oaks homecoming.
Ouch.
It was Royal Oaks homecoming.
Ouch.
So
on the road, I mean, and
the 2 games have been on the road,
right? So
Farmington drama, and now you add the Troy Athens win like that. I mean, if you're Coach Keenis, you know what I mean. You're rolling right now. You're on a roll right now.
Road wins are so hard in this league.
It is. It doesn't matter what color division you're in. It doesn't matter.
And so far, they're solid on the road. They are undefeated. 4-0.
And they're very solid right now. The way that they're playing, I like how offensively efficient they've been. The play of Evan Bieber, obviously, really been consistent at quarterback. Their defense is doing just enough to get some wins under their belt. And when you look at Athens going forward, the test is this week. The test will be this week when Billy Keenis makes his return to Hurley. That will be fun to watch. And we'll talk that later on.
Oh, yeah.
another team, that I didn't expect to see happen, and I think we need to talk this more in depth, is Oak Park and North Farmington at Knight Valley.
So there were two games that made me go, what?
Mm-hmm.
This was one of them. The other was Oxford Lake Orion.
Mm-hmm.
What a game for Oak Park. Now, it was at Oak Park.
It was in Knight Valley.
On the road.
Yep.
And it was a tight one.
It was 17-0 North Farmington in the second quarter. It was 17-0. And then one play changed the whole game. The Boana Miller pass for a touchdown. And North Farmington couldn't stop Oak Park's ground attack all night. They couldn't stop them.
Couldn't stop the ground attack.
No, and that's stunning considering who North Farmington's beaten.
Yeah.
And we know how good North Farmington. I mean, the fact that their defense limited North Farmington to one touchdown in the second half is absolutely stunning.
That is the stat of the game, Sammy. Right? Talking about North Farmington and the talent and the coaching and the scheme and everything and what we've seen and what they've done to their opponents up to this point. I mean, I wasn't ready to say, yeah, they're going to steamroll and win out in the league because you never know what's going to happen week to week. But this was a stunning win. This was a huge win for Oak Park.
To me, there was parts of me that wasn't stunned because look at who Oak Park's played. They played Orchard Lake St. Mary's. They played Adams. They played Adams tough, and then to win a game like this.
And I forgot we talked to Coach about that in the preview show.
I didn't talk to Oak Park during the preview.
He wasn't there. I thought
Coach Carter wasn't there.
I thought assistant coach, but we were talking to him about the schedule.
And
we're like, dude, and he's like, yeah, we know.
We know. It's schedule.
We made the schedule
that Coach Carter plays year in and year out.
Yes.
It's absolutely vicious.
Yeah.
It is absolutely
vicious.
And
I love that. I really, really like that because it toughens you up, right? Gets you a little callous on you, gets you grizzled. Now you're going to take your lumps, but you're also going to know how good how good you are, right?
But when you look at this game here, I think this game saved Oak Park's season because yes, the schedule does get tougher for them. I know they're still looking for a week 9. And, I'm a little... Oh, wait, no. They play Clarkston week 9. My bad. They got Clarkston week 9. So, the schedule, it does toughen up. But it looks like now that they're starting to figure things out a little bit. Their defense is still an issue. If you're North Farmington, I think this team is fine. I really do. Because North Farmington's a team that now with a loss under their belt, this might be the best thing to happen to them. Because it says, you know what? If you think we were supposed to come in here undefeated, that game at Oak Park is a gut check for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you got to go back to the drawing board. You got to go back into, and now you got a tough matchup with Rochester coming up. And Rochester, they're better than what the record's indicating.
Oh, definitely.
And you still got to play Adams. And then you still got Traverse City Central. You watched that game against Traverse City West. Josh Burnham, real deal quarterback. And I talked to John Herstein about Josh Burnham, and he was very, very concerned about having to face him again. And now he has to face him. But lucky for them, it's at Ron Holland Field.
And when we say face them again, they met up in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, up in Traverse City, up at Thurby. And we know how that went.
Yeah, that did not go well.
No, it did not.
But, yeah, the Traverse City Central is real.
Yeah.
They were good. I tuned in the second half, and it was unbelievable. I mean, you're watching, it was night and day between the two teams, and he's a real deal.
Watching him play Josh Burnham.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So with North Farmington, you think they're okay?
I think they're fine.
Oak Park, you think they got a spark?
They got a huge spark, huge win.
So is it possible to have a positive for both teams out of this matchup?
Absolutely, it's possible to have it because for Oak Park, you hung tough with Adams. You know what that brings. And then you just beat North Farmington. I mean, you should be favored against Groves. You should be favored against Seaholm. I mean, those are winnable games. And then you should be favored against Rochester. Those are winnable games for you, before you go back in the non-league play to play Clarkston, which that's difficult.
So with this win.
And then you have West Bloomfield. Forgot them.
Yes. Mm-hmm. How do you forget them? Mm-hmm. So with Oak Park, do you think this will get them on the path to the playoffs? Do you
they
think
have to beat one more?
Their margin of error is thin?
If you're 1-3, your margin of error is slim right now. And we'll talk 1-3 teams in a minute.
Because we got a couple.
But I think they're on the right path. But they're gonna have to beat somebody they're not supposed to beat. And you got West Bloomfield Clarkson to close out the year. That's difficult.
Oh yeah.
But you never know. But I think for Oak Park, it's a start in the right direction.
Okay.
But do I think are they a playoff team right now? Probably not. But we'll see.
Yeah, that was the big gas. I'm like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. And Harper Woods, I mean, they're up to 3-1 start in the non-league. I mean, knocked off Pontiac Notre Dame Prep. That was a revenge game for them. Now they get Birmingham Detroit Country Day, which that'll be fun.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Vinny Booth been playing really well for them. Christian Stokes, that's the one I was thinking about. He's the running back for Harper Woods. 4 touchdowns. But I'm curious to see how they do going forward there. They're at 3-1. Adams, I have no issue with them. Rochester's an interesting one because you just can't put them against their city schools.
Yeah, 0-2.
0-2 against their city schools. Lost 3 straight to their city schools last 2 years, if we include the playoff disaster.
You should, because it was against them.
Yes.
But the problem is it's a blowout. I mean, a 49-10. Do you think that's just circumstance? Was it closer than 49-10?
That's just scheme. I mean, what I don't understand is, and I can't figure this out, is Rochester's inability to stop the veer. They've lost 26 straight games. And Petrino came to Adams, I believe, in 2001. Petrino came to Adams. So
20 years.
Yeah, almost 20 years. So how do you explain
it's tough. You think that the gap would be kind of closing slightly, but it appears to not be the case.
No, that's not the case. Another
so how does Rochester bounce back?
Simple. Keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Alex Bueno, Preston Schroeder. I think this team's fine, but they've got to beat some teams. So I think that North Farmington game this week is huge for them.
Yeah.
And I think that Grove's game is huge for them, obviously. The Oak Park game's huge for them. Then they got to play Oxford. Oxford's better than what people think they are.
Real good.
And then, so when you look at Rochester's, and then they play Stony Creek to close out the year. So they probably played Stony Creek and lost.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Rochester, they've got a pathway to the postseason. They got a pathway. They've got to start winning games. And they got to win. I think if they win the North Farmington game, then I think the schedule is going to get smoother from there. Even when they play Oxford. And I think Oxford's a really difficult game.
But that's the big hurdle, though.
Yes.
North Farmington.
North Farmington's the big hurdle. And then you have to have Groves in there. And then you have to play Oxford. You know what I mean? And then you have Oak Park. Those teams are not easy games for Rochester. So, bottom line is this. There is a pathway for Coach Eric Vernon's team, but it starts with North Farmington.
Yeah, which is a tall order.
So very tall order. And then you look at a team like A&T, you know what I mean, in the red. 2-2. Just got swamped by Clarkston. I'm not pressing the panic button on A&T yet. I know they got Rouge to close out the year. That's a very difficult matchup. You still got to play West Bloomfield. They still got to play Oxford. I mean, Oxford, we know they're better than what people think they are.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're A&T, you just got to keep playing. You know what I mean? If you're A&T, you just got to keep playing. Forget the Clarkson game. Move on. Focus on Stony Creek. That'll be a huge game for them. Stony Creek's basically the same way as well. I mean, they're 2-2. That's basically I wouldn't say an elimination game, but if I'm Southfield right now, you should be motivated right now.
Yeah, you have to forget the Clarkston game. I mean,
Clarkston is Clarkston.
That was a stat stuffer if I ever saw one. That was
Ethan Clark's been the real deal, obviously. I've seen this kid playing youth football. I've seen this kid. What he's doing is Madden stuff. That's what he's doing.
It's true, and not only that, but when you see, now he's got receiving yards and touchdown. I go, you add that to the how do you plan for him then?
And then you have Lucas McKinney.
Yeah.
You have Lucas McKinney, and then you have who's been my biggest surprise at wide receiver this year. And then of course Davis York. I know Davis York from his days in youth football, going for an 86-yard touchdown run against A&T. I mean, but a lot of this you got to give credit to is Clarkson's offensive line.
Yeah, there is no drop off.
There's no drop off, even from Spindler and Garrett Dillinger. Cole Dillinger's really stepped in.
Yep.
They've got some great linemen down there that have just really gotten the job done. I mean, KR's really done things well for Clarkston. You know what I mean? Like what Coach Corliss said a couple weeks ago, KR's really got that team heading in the right direction. Now, their defense is still a concern, but...
Well, you're not going to pitch a shutout every week.
No.
And 27... A&T can score. We
right,
know that.
We know that.
And 27, you go, once you're a, running clock area, they're cycling in guys.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it's second, thirders getting in there.
Basically just give them a pass there.
Yeah.
We talked to Avondale in the league roundup. Obviously, without Jake Herzog, they're going to struggle.
Avondale, I don't see how they get out of this slide.
Unless Herzog comes back. And he was on a knee brace when I saw him. Then people are going to ask me about a team like Bloomfield Hills.
Mm-hmm.
They're off to a 4-0 start. And I saw an interesting tweet.
When's the last time they were 4-0? That wasn't listed on the rundown. So
it was a little while, but they're 4-0. I mean, they said who would want to play Bloomfield Hills on their homecoming? I can name at least 12 teams.
In the past, I don't know about now.
I still think there's 12 teams in everybody in the red and the white that are better. I think that, you know what I mean?
I think they just, Avondale's limping, and they beat up on somebody who is down.
Mm-hmm. And that's where it is right now.
But they took care of business. They did what they had to do, right?
Obviously. And I talked to Berkeley coach Sean Shields the other day about he is very concerned about his kids, especially with Ferndale, being 3 miles, with the COVID situation and all that. When you look at Berkeley, you know what I mean? To have an unexpected week off, you know what I mean? You got to worry, for this team. You got to worry for them. You know what I mean? And I worry about this team, you know what I mean? Basically, because they didn't play it this week. Ferndale, they're going through the COVID case. You know what I mean? You don't know where their situation is.
Yeah.
I mean, with Berkeley's case, obviously, you just got to...
You think having a Friday off kind of throws you off a little bit?
It depends how Coach Shields plays this.
The rhythm of the week is thrown off.
It depends how Coach Shields plays this, But it does give you a team a week to rest. It gives you a team a chance to be careful. You know what I mean? It gives you a chance to be, but you don't want to have a win be a forfeit. You really don't want.
No, not at all.
And I really.
And you want Ferndale to make sure, man. You hope it's a negative or a false positive, or if it's one individual that they're okay and it has not spread. So, but we are still in the middle of this thing.
I know.
It's we forget about it sometimes. It's amazing how easily you can roll back into your normal routine.
I know.
Isn't it, Sam?
Yes, it is.
even for us here at the station, it's like
Yes.
we have classes again. We got
Right.
all our events. We're out there shooting
Yeah,
games.
BT's back.
BT's back. Yeah, right. All these different things going on, and you have to remember,
We're still in a pandemic.
there's still a pandemic going on, and in
Yes.
certain areas, it's worse than it was a year ago this time.
Mhm.
So, crossing our fingers and toes and making sure everything's cool.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned something about Cass Tech.
Yeah, they played against Detroit Renaissance with only 16 kids.
16 kids, 50
50 of them were
in the
contact traced.
COVID protocol.
One tested positive, and 50 others were contact traced.
My word.
And they played Detroit Renaissance, and it was 13-6.
So
They
when you go into that number of players, 50,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't that tell you? I mean, it kind of tells you that some vaccines were not taken then. I mean,
Yep.
Right? If someone's around you and you have the vaccine,
Vaccines are available.
right? They're available. It's like, my goodness,
Mhm.
you can see how fast it can wipe out.
Yep.
They're lucky they actually got the game off. I'm surprised they actually played the
They
game.
did play it.
Mm.
But, all right, let's talk.
All right, so
let's talk Lake Orion Oxford. I mean,
So this was the other game I told you that was the big oh my,
mm-hmm.
right? It was Oak Park, North Farmington was
Yep.
the one that really stood out. And then, yes, we were broadcasting right out of Lake Orion, and seeing that score, knowing the history and what's been going on between these two teams for a number of years, once they started the rivalry again and started playing each other again for the Double O Trophy, I have not seen anything like this.
You know,
At least not on the Lake Orion side of things.
I was on the sideline Friday night, just watching helpless. I actually looked at the stands.
Listeners, if you don't know, Sammy's a fan of the Dragons.
I'm down on the sidelines. You know what I mean? I'm down on the sidelines. There was a nice picture of me on Facebook.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Were you going like this?
No.
Screaming?
But I was down there. I looked at the stands, and thinking to myself,
What was the atmosphere before we get into the gut punch for the
Mhm.
Dragon faithful? What was the atmosphere? Usually, the atmosphere is one of the best.
it's one of the best
in all of
atmospheres,
Oakland
you know,
County.
one of the best rivalries. You know what I mean? You look at obviously the Battle of Birmingham. That's always really tense. The Battle of Rochester.
Mhm.
That always intense. You know, on all three schools, but.
But Lake Orion, Oxford, the first time we had it in all those years, I mean, there was like 5,000 people at that game.
Right.
3 deep around the track. It was
Right.
amazing
It was
atmosphere.
amazing atmosphere.
And it's like that every year.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like?
The atmosphere, I thought was all right. You know what I mean? I thought it was all right.
So it wasn't over the top.
Wasn't over the top. Wasn't over, you know what I mean? Just anything special. But, you know, the atmosphere was there. The fact that, you know, we had two struggling teams coming in there. Oxford
needed a W badly.
Oxford played much better against West Bloomfield the prior week. Lake Orion was coming off a disastrous 2 weeks where they allowed 84 points.
Yeah. Against North Farmington and A&T.
A&T. So when you look at this game, you know, I was really disappointed in Lake Orion's defense. 51 points. Now, people are going to ask me the the injuries, you know, the 2 players on concussion protocol.
Yep.
One was suspended. And that, to me, that's no excuse.
And and that's not the difference in the game.
No. The difference in the game is the pass defense has been absolutely a mimic.
Horrible.
Yes.
Like, not even there.
Not even existent.
And it's almost looking like if you have a capable quarterback that can hit an open receiver,
Aaron Shelby.
you're going to pick them apart.
Ryan Shelby, Isaiah Marshall, and now Brady Carpenter has picked this defense apart. I can only imagine Raekwon Nance. I can imagine Mike DePillo. I can imagine Lloyd Carter's grandson against this defense.
That's Celine.
Yes.
That's the last game of this regular
team,
season.
Lake Orion's got big problems. on the Oxford side of things, he found an offense. Look at what they've done the last 2 games.
Yeah.
They've scored 82 points in the last 2 games. That's beautiful football.
Yeah.
And
traditionally, Oxford's been a relatively low-scoring game.
On the rock team. But with line there, you knew that they were going to change the offense up, be more of a typical NFL team, like the Saints. And they showed that, and it was on full display on Friday night against Lake Orion. It was on full display. Tate Muir had a nice game. Salvacaro had a really nice game. Aquano had a really nice game for Oxford. Everything just clicked for them. And when you look at an Oxford offensive line, I thought had a really nice game. And that was without Kiwane Burton, who was back in uniform, but he didn't play. But Landon Severance played. Severn had a really nice game for Oxford. You look at Mitchell Viviano, he had a really nice game for him. He had a touchdown.
Everybody
Alec
for
Brown
Oxford had a nice game.
Yeah. Alec Brown had a nice game for them.
Read the roster. They all had a good one.
They all had a really good game, especially a player like Brady Carpenter. You know what I mean? Remember Brady Carpenter's brother, Drew. We remember what he did in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And that came out of nowhere.
Yes. We couldn't believe they were passing it the way they were.
But it's a different scheme, though.
It is.
Now, from Bud Riley to Zach Lyne. But for Oxford, they know where they're going. They had a lot more experience. I noticed that. But
they also prepared for their opponent and took advantage of their weaknesses.
Correct.
Right? That's what your coaches, the scouting, all that stuff, they prepped right and the kids executed.
Correct.
Right? On the road in a hostile environment, and they got it done.
Yep, they got it done.
In a big way. Now, Oxford, on the rise.
Clearly.
What's the remaining schedule looking like?
They got a brutal schedule. They still got to play Rochester, Chippewa Valley to close the year. They have to play Southwood A&T. They got Clarkson this week.
I was just going to say.
That's their homecoming.
Yeah.
And,
so it's tough sledding if you're looking for those wins to get into the playoffs.
But I think Oxford right now, if they can play with that type of style, but their defense has to get shored up.
Yeah.
But if they can play with that style, you know what? Don't be surprised if Oxford makes a shot at this thing. They have a shot. That Chippewa Valley game looks really intriguing now because Chippewa Valley just lost to Macomb, Dakota.
Saw that, yes.
They just lost to Macomb, Dakota. And I think Oxford's got a shot at that game. I think they got a good shot.
I think they have a shot in the Rochester game.
They do.
Right?
And they have a shot in the A&T game.
Yes.
They have a good shot. 3 of those games that they have, if they can win at least 3 of those 4, you got to consider them.
Yeah.
To be in you got to consider them. That schedule.
Do they have, usually knocking off Lake Orion would be that marquee win.
Mm-hmm.
But Lake Orion's not looking that good right now, and I don't see it being a marquee win this year for them.
No.
So it's one of those things where the marquee win, and they do play points now, right?
Yes.
It's wins, but it's also you get points for who you're playing and the harder schedule. So even though you lost, you get some points.
Yes.
Right. So I don't know what the threshold is to get in.
Between 4 or 5 wins is usually the threshold.
Because we saw that too. Like you can have a losing record going and get into the playoffs. It rewards teams like Oak Park playing a murderer's row.
Yep.
And like Oxford playing a
murderer's row. Lake Orion's playing a murderer's row.
Yes.
You look at playing a murderer's row schedule will help you. It will help you. But you got to win those games. That's the bottom line.
Now, on the flip side, you're shaking your head already. Lake Orion.
Where's the mantra of Orion?
I'm looking at going, is there another win on this schedule?
Maybe Seaholm. But when you look at this team right now, The defense is a problem.
Their scoring average
Their
is roughly the
scoring average
same
is roughly the same
against good teams,
against good teams.
right? What was it? 21, 27, 24?
The problem with Lake Orion, and I mentioned this in the previous show, this team could be as good as 6 wins, but as bad as 2.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say as bad as 2 is what we're experiencing right now. The meshing, the chemistry, just not there.
Something is not.
Accountability.
Yeah.
Accountability is just not there. I mean, how do you explain this with this group? I mean, like, I wrote a column for the ON TV blog, and it greatly explains what's going on. It's a culture. It's the problem. It's the culture.
You think it's a culture
it's
thing?
a culture
I don't know if
problem.
it's a culture, because if you don't have the personnel to run the defense, is that culture? I mean, culture is the guys. Well, I can see where you're saying with culture, if you're not meshing, if you're not blending, and if the offense is doing their job, the defense is. You can have rifts on a team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can split that team in half.
Right.
Right. But if you don't have the personnel, or is it? Are they? I mean, they play in man. They play in zone.
I don't know
Either
what
way,
they're
they're getting
playing.
picked. Either way.
But they're getting picked apart. I mean, like, that's the problem.
A competent quarterback that is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Will
And then
pick
you
them
look at
apart.
obviously the problem with this team. I think started in the summer. I knew there were some warning
How
signs
so?
in the summer. Because when you have even though team camps and stuff are voluntary, you know what I mean? There were some severe warning signs. I've seen just some very unusual things have happened. The commitment level just wasn't there.
The numbers.
I
People are. Again, I am not making excuses for any team on this list, let alone Lake Orion.
No.
But you still have pandemic. Did they? If it wasn't participation levels like we've seen in the past, do you think it could be related to that, or people? Some of the personnel decided, okay, fine, okay, yeah, I will play, or I wasn't sure if I was going to play. Is that what you're getting at?
I think it's more deeper.
Really?
And I'm not going that far.
Okay.
But I just think that the problem with this team, obviously, is they're not meshing together. They're not holding each other accountable together. And that goes, everybody on that program, including myself, has to be held accountable.
What are you going to do?
And, you look at maybe this team wasn't as good as I thought they would be. Maybe, people have.
Well, we saw signs of this last year, but
We did.
you didn't know. Because it was such a wonky year.
It was a wonky year.
For everyone.
What I
playing.
saw last year with that team was their defense was still pretty good. Their defense was pretty good. They fell to a very good Grand Blanc team, despite their record, their 3-3 record. Their defense was fine. The problem was the offensive side of the ball. This year's the defensive side.
It's almost flip-flopped.
It's almost flip-flopped. The problem with this team, I think it's deep, but I'm not going there.
Well, the thing, too, though, is how do you get out of it? Can you get out of it? Can you
I did say in the ON
pump the brakes and flip it?
I did say, is this season salvageable? Sure it is. Because here's why I say it's salvageable. Because you have to win a game you're not supposed to win. You have West Bloomfield. You should be all right against Stony Creek and Saline. No, Stony Creek and Seaholm. But you got to win a game you're not supposed to win. And that's either going to be it's either going to be West Bloomfield, Clarkston, or Saline. Which Clarkston and Saline right now are undefeated right now.
And playing.
And West Bloomfield's got one loss.
Yeah.
So you have to win a game you're not supposed to win. And I don't know if I see this team with that defense winning at least either one or two more games. That's the problem with this team. The mental mindset, the accountability, the chemistry, just not there with this.
And it is things are not
They're not
progressing from week to week.
They're not progressing week to week. You know, everybody thought, okay, the Utica Eisenhower game, they were progressing, and then we find out who Utica Eisenhower is right now. They're struggling.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not.
They're not as good as we thought they would be in normal years. And then you look at North Farmington. Yes, they're a very good team. Then you look at Southfield. Yes, they're a very good team. And then you look at obviously playing. Then you look at then you look at Oxford. Of course, this is the cake. This to me describes where this program is. This program, in my opinion, is rock bottom right now. They're at rock bottom. I mean, it's hard to explain, but this program right now, I mean, you look at the sub-varsity program, they give you hope. But
undefeated, right?
And then you look at the varsity program, you know, they're clearly at rock bottom right now. And can this team fix it? Sure they can, but I think they're running out of time.
Yeah. I think the calendar is against them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just fearful for the West Bloomfield and Clarkston game that, I mean, these could be
running clocks.
Running clocks of epic proportions. I mean,
there was running clocks against North Farmington.
And Oxford for a point.
No, not Oxford.
Not Oxford? They kept it tight enough?
They kept it tight enough.
But it's still a running clock. Lake Orion on the other end of a running clock is something that we have not seen.
Not in a long time.
Long time.
So there's got to be some accountability on that team, though. There's got to be. All right, let's go to some picks. Obviously, we got
some games.
We got some Week 5 picks, obviously, to look at.
Well, how did we do last week? We did okay.
Did okay. You know what I mean? You did pretty well. I did all right. Let's look at our first game. Let's go to Harper Woods taking on Birmingham Detroit Country Day. Country Day's coming off a really tough loss to South Lyon last week.
Really?
And Harper Woods come out that emotional win against Pontiac Notre Dame Prep. The game's at Harper Woods, so when you look at this game here, do you think Country Day bounces back, or do you think Harper Woods gets the, or do you think do you think the Country Day bounce back, or do you think Harper Woods gets another huge win?
See, again, this goes to I've never seen Harper Woods play.
I've seen them play. They're a good team.
They are, and but having for me, it's eyeball.
Mm-hmm.
And Country Day is usually you pick the name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because traditionally they are the ones to pick. So let me go with Harper Woods. I think they keep this thing going, but I think it's going to be a tight one.
I'm going to go Harper Woods as well. I really like what Coach Rob Oden's done. Vinny Booth's been really good. Christian Stokes has been playing lights out. I just think that Harper Woods, I really like where they're at right now. I just think that at the end of the day, I just think Harper Woods, I really like that team. I mean, even though they're not deep, but they find ways to get it done. So give me the Pioneers. Let's go to a game we're keeping a really close eye on. Is Ferndale-Avondale. Of course, we know the Ferndale-Avondale situation. Don't be surprised if
that game doesn't take place.
But that's a game we gotta. If it does take place, I'm gonna take Ferndale.
Me too.
If that game does take place, I'm gonna take Ferndale.
Yeah, Avondale. They're just in a rut that I don't know. Yeah, injury, sure, but they've been limping along for a number of years. I mean, it's they just can't find an offense or consistency, I should say.
No,
they can't put a couple wins together, and when the wheels fall off, they really fall off.
Yep. So yeah, I'm gonna go Ferndale as well. I mean, I think this is a good wake up call for them. I really do. Bloomfield Hills is homecomings this week. They take on Farmington. Farmington really struggling. We talked about Dominic Peschel. They're really struggling to score. Do you see them upsetting Bloomfield Hills?
No.
No?
Bloomfield Hills is feeling it. They're really proud of themselves. What is it?
38-6 blowout.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it might be. I don't think it's going to be a blowout over Avondale type game, but I say Bloomfield Hills gets it done at home.
I'm going to take Bloomfield Hills close because I just think that the difference here in this game is Bloomfield Hills has just enough offensively, but I think if Farmington can find a way to use their experience, you know what I mean, from playing in the white, which they have not done, then I think this is a closer game. But I just think Bloomfield Hills will take this game pretty easily. Troy and Dearborn, that's a Ford. It's at Troy. Troy's homecoming this week.
Troy's feeling good, man.
Troy's feeling really good.
They have an offense?
Yes, they have a defense.
And a defense. I take Troy.
I take Coach Chris Rader's team, too. I'm taking them as well.
Liking Troy.
Yep. Big one this week. Here, how about this one here? Royal Oak and Pontiac. This one could be a fun one.
Wow. You are right. I think this might be
This is going to be really interesting.
Could it be? I want to pick Pontiac, but I'm going to pick Royal Oak.
I am flipping it. I am taking the upset.
You are?
I'm taking the upset. I'm taking Pontiac.
Well, you did pick they could get 2 wins this year, you said.
Mm-hmm. This is one of them.
I'm going to take Royal Oak, but it's going to be like by 1 or on 1 point.
I'm taking Pontiac in this one because I think
I got to see what this kid who started his first game and got 500 yards of offense can do.
Do against Royal Oak. Yeah. Royal Oak's defense is really, really not. I mean, Royal Oak's defense is yikes.
Last one with the ball wins, do you think? Shootout?
I see shootout written all over it. I think this is going to be more of a basketball score. Maybe 62.
Whoa.
Maybe 63-56 type game.
Wow.
That's what I'm seeing. Because if Davian Hall can put up 5 touchdowns by himself and over 500 yards total offense by himself, I can imagine how he does against a Division 2 type defense like Royal Oak. You know what I mean?
I don't know if it's going to go that high since the Phoenix haven't scored more than 40 since. I mean, this was the last time.
They found an offense against Stockbridge. They found an offense.
I say maybe they I think it's in the 30s.
You think 30s?
Yeah.
You still think shootout, though?
Oh, shootout in the 30s, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a lot of defense. It's going to be a lot of running.
Yep.
A lot of running.
Royal Oak's got some good players. See Makai Jenkins there, Hudson Seidel, Jesse Hosington there, obviously. So I expect that's going to be a shootout. I really do. Billy Keenis has returned to Berkeley. Athens takes on Berkeley. This one's going to be a fun one.
I think Athens is feeling it, man.
You think Athens is feeling it?
I do.
I think Athens getting their first loss.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. I'm taking Berkeley. I mean, Berkeley's got experience. They beat Athens last year at Athens, at Troy. I think this is going to be a fun game between those two teams. I just think Berkeley's experience, overcomes Troy Athens's. Unfortunately for Red Hawk fans, I think the magic runs out this week for them. I really do.
They don't go 5-0.
No. I'd be shocked if they do, but I just don't think they're going to beat Berkeley. Let's go from the blue to the white. Seaholm Adams. Does Seaholm stand a chance?
No.
Of course. Apologies to Coach Jim DeWald.
Yeah, sorry, Coach. Adams is playing in a level that is very impressive.
Seaholm's been playing better.
They've been playing better, but they haven't been playing as consistently as Adams has.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm taking the Highlanders.
And then we have Oak Park and Groves. Obviously, Groves coming off their first win last week, knocking off Seaholm.
Weren't we just asking what is Groves?
What is Groves?
What are they? Do we even know still?
Jaden Magnum obviously is another. Jaden Magnum coming back really helps them. Oak Park's coming off an emotional win, come back from 17-0 down to beat
North Farmington, a very good North Farmington team.
Mm-hmm.
Is this at home?
It is at Groves. It's in Beverly Hills.
Oak Park. So Oak Park's one of those teams. Are they?
They're an odd team to figure out.
They are, and especially on the road, week to week. Can they sustain success?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we see they have, and sometimes we just some scratch your head moments for these guys. But I'm going to say they get it done.
Oak Park goes into Beverly Hills, meets Groves.
Yes.
I'm going to take that as well. I think Oak Park, they do get it done in Beverly Hills. I really like what the Knights have been doing. Ever since that win against North Farmington, they've been very competitive in each of their losses. I'm going to take the Knights just because of what they've been doing lately.
Yeah.
And then you have them, probably one of the most unique games. This one's going to be a fun one. North Farmington at Rochester. This one's
for some
got a
reason,
trap game for North on it.
It does.
All over
it does. What I was going to say is this one all of a sudden got a lot closer.
Mm-hmm.
I think North Farmington bounces back. The real North shows who they are. And
is it close or blowout?
I would say 10 points.
This game's fun. This game's interesting. Because two experienced quarterbacks. I just think North's got a little bit more structure than Rochester, though. I'm going to take North Farmington tight. And
so under 10?
Under 10. I'm going to say 7. I think this is going to be a 27-20 game. I really do. It'll be a really good game. I really do, between these two teams. I think Rochester's looking for something to bounce back after losing to Adams like that.
Yeah, and I was just going to say this is more of a game about Rochester than it is North
Farmington.
Yeah.
Because we know what North Farmington is.
Yes.
So this is more of what Rochester is.
Correct.
So we'll see where they're at. And then let's go to the Red games. Obviously, Lake Orion, West Bloomfield first.
Home or away?
It's at Lake Orion. So ONTV will have this game. Until the Dragons can fix their defense, this might be a first for me on air. But until they
say it,
West Bloomfield's going to take, unfortunately, because when you look at this game, Lake Orion cannot stop hardly anybody right now. Samaj Morgan is a very, very good deep threat at wide receiver. Raekwon Nance, we know what he can bring.
Yep. It's like the perfect storm you don't want to see when you have a defense like this.
But I think this is going to be a shootout.
Really?
Because I'm not sold on West Bloomfield's defense, though. I'm not. I think Lake Orion is going to put up pretty similar numbers to what Oxford did to West Bloomfield. But I just think this is going to be a 45-31 game. I'm going to,
I say West Bloomfield. I think they handle another 50-burger on them. It could be that bad, Sammy.
I know.
It really could. Because if you have, again, this is like the third time I said it, capable quarterback, competent receivers.
Good running game.
What do you do? What do you do? I hope it's not that, obviously.
Yep.
But it's lining up to be a toughie. It's
lining up. Southfield, Stony Creek. I mean, this one's an interesting game. Last year, we saw what Cam Burford did to A&T. And Stony Creek went into Southfield and won by 2 scores. So when you look at this game here, it's at Stony Creek. Do you see the roles being flipped? Or do you see Stony Creek coming out on top?
This is a tougher pick than I thought it was going to be. I think Stony gets it done, but it's going to be by their fingernails. I mean, like 3 points.
Ooh, you're going armor up.
I am
going armor up.
I mean, we have to see what they are, but I have a feeling they can do it.
I have a ton of confidence.
But I say 3 points.
I have a ton of confidence in Gary Griffin's defense. But,
yep, and we're at 55.
And but A&T's got Aaron Marshall, quarterback. I don't trust A&T's running game at all. I don't trust Stony Creek's offense in this game.
See, and that's why I was kind of like,
this is a low score. If this is a low scoring game, Stony Creek wins.
I think if it's like 17,
If
14, Stony.
But anytime you have Isaiah Marshall there, and he's your virtual running attack, I'm not taking. I will trust Gary Griffin's defense with my life depends on it. I'm taking Stony over.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the way you were setting it up, I thought you were going the other way.
I trust Gary Griffin's defense more than I trust Isaiah Marshall right now. I'm just being flat honest with you.
And do you think it's as tight as I said, like 17-14, or do you think it's more of a
2017?
Okay.
2017. And the last one is Oxford's homecoming this week. Why would you book Clarkson on your homecoming?
Maybe you had no choice.
I mean, and then you look at obviously Ethan Clark going against that defense. Now, Oxford's got some playmakers. You got Brady Carpenter. You got Mitch Viviano. You got Salvacaro. You got playmakers. But, dude, this is Clarkson.
Yeah. Clarkson is rolling. Their skilled players are playing at elite levels. The defense is solid.
Defense, in my opinion, for them is suspect.
Well, but it's solid. I go, you don't need to be all-world when you got an offense that's rolling up and down the field. Video game numbers, just like you said at the top of the show. It's Clarkson all the way. I think maybe by 15, 16 points.
I think it's just got shootout written all over it.
Really?
Oxford's playing better, obviously. Oxford's playing much better.
They are, but Oxford's not going to tag Clarkson for 50.
They're not going to tag him for 50. I think they're going to put at least 35 on him. But Clarkson, on the other hand, I think is going to tag Oxford for 56. So
they're that good.
They're that good.
Yeah.
So until the jury's out, give me Clarkson. 21 points.
Yeah, interesting games. The Stony Creek game.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Keeping it very close.
Rochester and North.
Obviously.
I think those are the two for me to keep the eyeballs going on.
The game for me, I'm keeping an eye on. Obviously, got Harper Woods Country Day. And then the other one, obviously, the two games you mentioned. Groves Oak Park's another one I'm keeping an eye on because is Oak Park for real?
Yes.
That is the big question.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a quality.
If they are, they have to take down Groves.
Yeah, if they are, they have to take down Groves. If not, then they're in some trouble.
Awesome.
So we'll see what happens going forward.
Yep. And before we get out of here, I'd like to just bring up some cross-country news. Is that okay, Sam? We got a couple.
Go ahead.
I got about a minute. Is that the big meet up at the Holly Invitational, which is, a lot of teams from all over the state compete.
That's usually the measuring stick.
That is the measuring stick mid-season of how you compete with elite teams across the state of Michigan. And the Lake Orion men's varsity squad acquitted themselves rather astutely at this meet, taking it, winning the Holly Invitational in very stylistic way. Their top 5 scores, as you know, in cross country, you get 5 scores. 7 runners, 5 will score, were within 56 seconds of each other, which is unheard of.
Unheard of. And then Oxford women, I know, are ranked.
And the Oxford women are looking very, very nice. They have a superstar freshman who won the OAA Jamboree at Lake Orion just not too long ago. So, yeah, looking pretty good.
Yep. So we'll see what happens going forward. Wish everybody the best of luck. Stay healthy. We'll see what happens going forward. We'll see you all next week, everybody. Take care and God bless.
See you, Sammy. OAA Now is produced by Sammy Taormina. The views on this show are his and mine alone. If you'd like to produce your own podcast, give Owen TV a call at 248-393-1060. Get out there before the weather turns. Cheer on these student athletes in person. Get out there and say, hey, cheer them on. Come on. That's it for this edition of OAA Now. We'll see you next week. See ya.